I'm enthusiastic. I'm an entrepreneur. And so I make all my decisions on the basis of actual data and so on. But I don't, because I'm an angel, and most angels really don't. So with most angels, despite what they say, despite all the numbers and stuff they can give you, it's really intuitive. And so what you can try and do, if you're not one of the pickers who has this sort of perfect sense of, and even they still miss 80% of the time, but the question is the other 20%, they get unicorns, right? So, but if, if assuming that you were going to be a rational angel, and my book, by the way, was written for those people. My book was written for rational people, or at least semi-rational, trying to be an angel investor. Right. And so the thesis of the book is get a really big, wide deal, understand what you're doing, decide what you're going to invest in, get a very big deal flow, and then at least understand the basics of what does traction mean, how do startups work. And so when you look at it, you're not missing the obvious, right? If something is not going to work, it's not going to work. And so typically you can see that early on. That being said, you're then going to try and go for the gut instinct, the intuitive thing for the big future. One of my most fun investments, for example, was a company that I saw at a New York Tech Meetup. A New York Tech Meetup actually still is, but it's less than it used to be. But it was a monthly meeting where people in the New York tech community would show off their current tech. It wasn't pitching. You weren't allowed to discuss business models. You weren't allowed to, to pitch. It was all about showing off tech. This guy gets up and shows off tech for bike sharing. And now bicycle sharing at that point had just begun to be a big thing. And there were bicycle share things in New York and Washington and California. It's a bunch happening in Europe. But the first generation bike sharing was basically like in Amsterdam. You would, take a bike and leave it on the street corner and lock it up on a thing. And then everybody would have